ABA therapy for autistic kids is abuse. In a previous video, I compared it to conversion therapy, and a lot of the ABA therapists are in my inbox big mad. I'm a 32-year-old autistic adult with multiple neurodivergent children, 2 of which are autistic. I actually also had a college student live with me for a few years who was an ABA therapist by trade. So I know a lot about it, how it works, what it's meant, what it's for. In short, ABA therapy is an approach to treating children with autism and helping them better control all of the behaviors that are pathologized, meaning diagnosed as wrong, broken, disordered. If you have watched my prior videos, you know that all of that goes back to the research coming from Nazi Germany and really early psychology research where autism was seen as something that needed to be eliminated through eugenics. But current research has proven that autism isn't wrong. It's not a disorder. It is simply different neurology. Our brain works differently. It doesn't work better or worse on all points. It's simply different. Any therapy that is seeking to tell children that they cannot trust the body sensations that they're having, they have to ignore them and dissociate, or teaching them to hide parts of themselves from the rest of the world, being often abused. Search ABA trauma if you don't believe me, but there are therapists who literally use punishments as mild as spraying kids with water in the face, to electric shocks, or it could just be simply not getting to have recess and snacks. A lot of ABA therapists say, no, we use positive reinforcement primarily. And what that looks like is, oh, you went a whole 5 minutes without stimming, so you get a treat. Good job, little circus monkey. I'm not saying that all ABA therapists are abusive. I'm not saying that all parents who utilize ABA therapy are bad. Most of the parents who utilize those services are truly looking for the best option. They're trying to support their children and they don't know how, and they're trusting that what the government insurance companies say this is going to help is going to help. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Long-term outcomes of ABA therapy show huge increases in depression, anxiety, suicide. If it's killing the kids, it's not the best case. However, I do think that there are some really powerful tools that have been created within ABA therapy that can still be used. For example, one tool that I think is great is the idea of teaching kids to identify their emotions. That's very common in ABA therapy, working with children to identify where they feel something in their body, realizing where it came from, asking, what is that big feeling? Is it anger or is it fear? And helping kids differentiate their emotions is really helpful for any kid, but especially kids with autism. So if you are an ABA therapist or a parent who's utilizing ABA therapy, I would just ask you to start a little bit of time in researching the paradigm shift from pathologizing autism to the neurodiversity paradigm. It's going to drastically shift the way autism is spoken about in the years to come, and the research that's rolling out in droves right now is backing the neurodiversity paradigm. And so if that is where you're at right now and you don't see another option, at least adding this verbiage and paradigm shift in your brain is going to help you frame it better with your children and for yourself if you're autistic. I think the long term is not that if you're an ABA therapist, you have to quit your job, but it may mean that you need to start doing it a little differently. It may mean that you don't follow all the protocols and that you don't achieve what maybe the parents set out as goals when they first come in. Therapy for a patient should be about making that patient healthier and happier, not making their parents' lives easier. If a kid is coping through some kind of stim that's annoying to the parents, instead of making that kid stop, whether it be by positive reinforcement or through negative punishments, what if it's a conversation about helping them find alternatives if they're interested, and if they're not, helping the parents figure out better ways to cope. At my house, I have to leave the room sometimes because my younger son is very verbally stimming. And sometimes my auditory stuff gets a little overstimulated when he's verbally stimming. So those competing needs come into reality for us, probably as much or more so than with a neurotypical parent. It seems though the parent can step up and take the loss here, and sometimes just let their child regulate however is best for that child. I do think there's a lot of value in continuing to pull pieces out of ABA therapy as optional tools for kids, but there needs to be more consent. There needs to be more choice for the child. Children know what they need in their bodies. If we just listen, if there's a behavior that's causing issues, very often that's because there's a need that's not being met, and they may not know how to verbalize it or describe it to you, and it may not make sense to you if you're neurotypical. But rather than telling them that the behavior is bad and them thus feeling like they're bad, pursue questioning, curiosity, and help figure out where it's coming from. And very often things, whether it's self-harmful stems or whatever, aggression, a lot of those things can be addressed in a very positive self-esteem building way, where the child begins to feel more safe and more confident, and thus the problem resolves, instead of them through fear and control being taught that they can't do it anymore. Like I said, ABA therapy is abuse.